And welcome back to Everything Tumbler Tutorials. My name is Rebecca Escott and today we've got a lot going on. I am very excited to show you a tie-dye wrap using BAMF Custom Creations vinyl. But first things first, we're going to spray paint the tumbler this gorgeous mint, and then I'm going to use Magical from AB Designs to apply the glitter directly over my spray paint. So once I have the entire tumbler glittered and I'm satisfied with my glitter application, I'm going to allow this to completely dry, and then I'm going to seal it with the clear seal from Rust-Oleum, allow that to dry as well, and then we're going to move into the first coat of epoxy. Now that our tumbler is completely dry, we're ready to go in with our first coat of epoxy. For this first coat of epoxy, I am going to be using Fast Set from Counterculture DIY. Now we are ready to wrap our tumbler using the BAMF Custom Creation tie-dye vinyl. This is a semi-transparent, and you're going to be able to see the glitter through this vinyl. I do speed up here in a few minutes because you've seen me wrap tumblers many times. I did not struggle, thankfully, applying this vinyl to this tumbler because sometimes this vinyl can be a little bit tricky. But you'll see that I pretty much went inch by inch in applying this to the tumbler, so I did not have any struggle. So originally when I was putting this thought process together for this tumbler, I wasn't going to do a peekaboo. But a couple of tutorials back, I kind of took some heat on a seam. However, I decided that after having this placed on the tumbler, I really did love it so much. But at the same time, I did have a seam that didn't match up, which is okay. I don't typically mind. But I really wanted to correct that by turning this into a beautiful peekaboo, groovy style, which you'll see in the decal. So I just really ultimately had a lot of fun with this. But again, because that wasn't the original plan, you can see that I'm trying to be super careful. I ended up, of course, you always want to pop those bubbles. But once I had this completely wrapped, it wasn't even at the bottom, so I had to trim that, tighten it up a little bit. But at the end of the day, it didn't even matter because I spray painted it and did a Tacket method. So stick with me and you'll see how that turns out. And I ultimately loved the cup. So now that we've met up at the back with the seams, I'm going to take my handy dandy measuring tape and use my X-Acto knife to trim down the seam. Once that's completed, we're ready to trim the rim. So once I had everything completely trimmed and ready to go, this tumbler did not need to be sealed, and it was ready for another coat of epoxy. For this second coat of epoxy, I completely forgot to record. However, here she is with a coat of epoxy that I did use the Fast Set from Counterculture DIY. Once this is fully cured, we can move on to the next step. So now it's time to apply the Tacket. I've already spray painted this a candy pink from Rust-Oleum, and you'll notice that my Tacket is very thick. I chose for this time to go ahead and experiment and not do the 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah, didn't actually work out as well as I had hoped. You'll see. I struggled because I think that this was super thick, and this was also a second coat because I really wanted to make sure that I got in through the lettering of the decal as well as my flowers. So in my opinion, I'm not a huge fan of straight Tacket. I definitely prefer doing one-to-one. So once it's clear, you're ready to proceed. I'm going to be using sterling silver from AB Designs, which is from their holographic collection. So because I chose to paint my cup candy pink from Rust-Oleum, I did decide to go over this a second time just to make sure I had a solid glitter application. Typically, you want to paint your tumbler as close to the glitter color as you can. And in this case, it should be white. But I don't ever do anything that's typical, so because I have to be different, I painted my cup pink. So once you tap off all that excess glitter, we're ready to go ahead and varnish or burnish, one of the two. We want to remove that excess glitter from this tumbler so we can reveal the holographic. But here's where you're gonna see that I struggled. So I whipped out a noodle that one of my friends told me about that they had seen on TikTok, another little TikTok hack, if you will. You'll see that I use one of my noodles to help me rub this down, and I'm pretty aggressive in doing so. And fortunately, I didn't mess it up. So just continue this step until you have a nice smooth tumbler and all that excess glitter is removed. Now that that step is complete, we're now ready to go ahead and reveal the Peekaboo. Right after this clip, I go ahead and speed things up a little bit, and then I finish it off camera. I really hope that you are enjoying this video so far, and if so, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials coming soon. Don't forget to click that bell to get notifications for every time I launch a brand new video. And if you're interested, I have also started a Patreon group, which you can find the link down below in the description, as well as you can now join my membership program right here on YouTube. So please take a moment and check out both of those membership programs and see which one works best for you. Once you have peeled all of your decal images for your Peekaboo, you are now ready for another coat of epoxy. For this next coat of epoxy, I am going to be using Fast Set from Counterculture DIY. So now I'm going to take you over to Cricut Design Space and show you exactly how I do my offset for my tumblers. So this design I purchased from Etsy. I'll be sure to have the link down for you in the description below. So doing an offset, you want to go up to the upper hand panel where it says offset. I prefer doing mine at 0.08. However, in this little box, you can decide just how big or how small you want your offset to be. It will give you a preview, and if you're happy with that, just click apply. Now we have the two images in which we want. We do have to select both images, which you can see from our panel. You cannot slice more than two images at one time. So once you've highlighted both images, go ahead down to the bottom right and click slice. Once sliced, you're now going to see 3 images in our panel, but we only need 2. I'm going to go ahead and delete this gray because I don't need it, and it's really a duplicate of this one. So I'm going to use the black solid image as my peekaboo effect, and I'm going to use the outline as my offset when the tumbler is ready. Here's a close-up of the offset I've already applied to my flowers. Now it's time to go ahead and place the offset on my words. This is kind of like the parchment paper trick, but without parchment paper. So I simply lined it up with the back side of the lettering and then just laid it flat, going in the opposite direction of the words. I hope that made sense. Once I'm sure everything is nice and applied to my tumbler, I will then pull the transfer tape off the tumbler. So once this part is complete, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my flowers and applying my offset. Once that's done, we're then ready for another coat of epoxy. For this coat of epoxy, I am again going to be using Counterculture DIY's Fast Set. This cup only took one more final coat of epoxy and she was completed. I want to thank you so much for watching, and be sure to find me on TikTok under Rebecca Escott, Facebook at Everything Tumbler Tutorials for continued learning. Remember, all the links will be down in the description for you below. As with any and all coats of epoxy, make sure you use your heat torch to pop any bubbles you may or may not be able to see.